All right, I assume that Jack is coming in a minute, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially since we are running a little bit late. We had a very fruitful discussion in executive session. Thank you for everyone for being patient and waiting. We have a little more work to do on our town manager contract, and our committee, Diane and Jean, will be in touch with you, Chris, about that. But it was a great discussion, and we're moving along with that. All right. If anyone would like to give a public comment tonight, please raise your hand, reveal yourself. I can let you in for public comment. I do not see any hands yet, so we can move forward to our approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes that need approval from the 29th.
I'll move the minutes from March 29th, 2021.
Second, they look good.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I was not in attendance for this meeting, but I did read them over. I believe I'm still allowed to approve them based on that, correct? Does anyone know, or should I abstain?
Jack is here too, so we should wait for him for the motion
Okay,
or for the roll call.
Technically, you can vote, but historically,
abstain.
people have abstained if they weren't at the meeting,
all
Carrie.
right. Yeah, no, I'm fine abstaining, but I did read them. All right, Jack, a motion was made to approve the minutes from 3/29. So the past meeting, and we had a second. So now that you're here, we can go into a roll call vote, starting with you.
Okay, until such time as we retain electronic records that are readily available. I don't think it's proper for us to be approving minutes without those records.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple die.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Carrie Thompson abstain. Okay. All right, one thing that we need to do for our South Shore Eco Fest is take a vote to waive the fee for the Eco Fest, and I'm not sure if we have anyone in attendance for that. Raise your hand if anyone is here.
You have Sarah Burgess, who just moved her up.
Perfect. Yes, Sarah, I thought I saw you. Come on in, Sarah. Hi.
Hi, I'm getting
you
there.
hear
There
us?
we go.
So I know you asked about a fee waiver, and we're absolutely willing to consider that. Can you just tell us, I mean, you've told us about the Eco Fest and we're very excited about it, but just tell us why you would like to have a fee waiver.
Well, in conversations that we've had, when my understanding was that when it's been a nonprofit that is hosting the event, like Just One Bag is, and they're a fully registered 501c3, they're all up to date with all of their financial records. My understanding was that it is considered. So our request was just the money that we're raising is to put back into the community, to put back and help promote environmental awareness. So if you guys were able to waive it, we would hugely appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for what you're doing. It's going to be a great event, I think.
Yeah, we're sold out of stalls. We've
Oh,
got-
really?
we've got
Yay. Okay.
32 stalls, and they're kind of split between private businesses and so many amazing nonprofits that are also going to be there being able to raise awareness and educate people. And we've got 3 great bands that are going to be playing. And
Fabulous.
really
I
exciting.
love that you're already sold out. That says a lot about the excitement you've generated.
Yeah, well, our goal is that with the money that we haven't spent on things, that we can
Right.
then put it out to South Shore schools or youth organizations and say, look, if you need some money to put a TerraCycle box in, or if you need some money to provide a composting service for a couple of months at your local school, let us know, write us why it's important, and we'll be able to hand out the funds that way. So
Hopefully this could be a maybe yearly or an event that happens more than once.
I would love that. As many people know, I am leaving the US so in June.
Yep.
So I just need to find some other people that
You're going to have to come back though. And
yeah,
visit.
I mean, it's going to be my April thing.
You'll have to come back every year for the Eco Fest.
I'm
right.
not going to promise to do select board meetings at midnight in my time. So.
Diane.
Yeah, quite a way to throw yourself a goodbye party, Sarah.
Yeah, pretty
Well
much.
deserved for sure.
Yep.
I just had a question about specifically the fees that we're being asked to waive. Because I know there's an event permit fee of some amount and there's probably an entertainment licensing fee. Is it just literally the event
$15.
fee?
I mean, my understanding, the only ones that I've ever seen written down were the event licensing fee, which I think is like $50, because it's a one-day event. So, whichever you would feel comfortable. If we're paying obviously the police fees and things like that, anything that we incur from the police closing the roads, we'll obviously pay all those. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I was under impression that it was the main fee, just the main event fee that you're asking to waive.
I'd make a motion if.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead,
members
Jean.
Feel comfortable, to waive the permit fee for the South Shore Eco Fest, so that just One Bag 2020, a 501c3 organization, does not need to pay the $50 or whatever that permit fee.
Yeah,
may
so,
be.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure it's
Point of
50.
order, I think it's a $15 fee.
Okay, 15.
No, there's a bigger one, I thought, because I checked that too. Tracy, are you there by any chance to
I'm looking at the
confirm?
event permit fee right now.
Sorry, that's why I asked.
I think it's more than 15. Or,
Okay, I'm gonna withdraw my motion, make a new motion that we waive the
yeah,
permit.
waive
fee
whatever the fee is.
Okay,
for
Yeah,
just
no, you're
One
right.
Bag 2020 for the South Shore Eco Fest 2020.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second, roll call vote.
point of discussion, sorry.
Oh, well, sorry. Any further
Like,
discussion?
I want to do this, and I'm gonna be the, the rain cloud here. I mean, pretty much everything else we do are lots of nonprofits. I mean, the arts fair, the road race we just had. I'm just, I want to do this, but I do think then, the board is saying basically all our event fee permit structure is pretty much useless. So I'm just throwing that out there for consideration. If we're okay with that, then we're okay with that, but this is a consideration.
Okay, no, that's valid, Corey. Chris, I don't know if Tracy's there, but.
Yeah,
can
she
you
was having trouble
confirm?
with her microphone.
Okay.
It's a $15 base fee, is $100 for the number of people, so it's $115.
Probably wrong, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it would be for this particular event because of the size of it. And the liquor fee is separate, but I wouldn't recommend you waive any fees of liquor license. So, but you can do whatever you like.
And then there's the police detail fee too.
Well, that would be, again, people pay those normally just because
Right.
they're a cost. I mean,
No, I think, yeah.
waiving the permit fee of $115 is just, that's not, it doesn't affect us, but we have to pay the police details, regardless if people pay them.
Diane,
Yeah, just Corey, I appreciate that. And that's sort of where I was going with my question. I apologize that I didn't actually look it all up before I got here, but like typically with some of these bigger events, even with the Social Arts Center, because it's 3 days arts festival and it's so intense, we don't usually waive that fee, but some of these one-day events for like the community center, Halloween fair and things like that, that traditionally we've waived that event fee that's based
Got it.
on
Okay.
day and number of people. And all the other fees, the entertainment license, the
Yep.
liquor license, that kind of thing, those fees to get those licenses are borne by the nonprofit. So,
so again, to clarify for everyone, we're only waiving the one permit fee. Jack?
Well, to Diane's point, one of the things about the art festival is there are a lot of private booths there, which are there to make money, which is good, drives vitality, but it's just kind of a quandary. Where do we draw the line? Arbor Day's, different, cleanup day, different, but when you're putting in booths that generate, generate our income generators. I don't know. I mean, I'm inclined to waive it in this case, but I do think that Diane's point is right to the point that at a certain level, it's probably should think about it.
Okay, so we still have a motion on the table. We've done our discussion. I think we just have to vote. Again, we have a motion and a second to just waive this permit fee. That doesn't include the other license fees or the detail fee. Okay, roll call vote, Jack.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple die.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, aye. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for everything you're doing. We can't wait for the event.
Thank you so much. I'll see you guys on the Common on the 29th.
All right, sounds
All
good.
right.
Hope the weather's good.
So do I. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to our next item on the agenda. This is an ARPA funding discussion for the library roof. Chris, I think you have an update for us on this.
Yes, so what I'm going to ask is the board approve funding up to $210,000 pending the results of Monday's CPC meeting, where they will consider funding some or all portion of the roof. It's not been included in the capital plan to allow that plan to stretch to cover some other smaller projects, which is really important and would not necessarily fit. The roof of the library seems to be fine. I've promoted Don to this. So I believe, so one of the hangups with the CPC approval was that the library building, while it is almost 100 years old, was never officially put on a local list. So the historical commission met yesterday and did officially put it on the local list of
Oh, good. Okay.
which now made it eligible for CPC funding. And unfortunately, because we were trying to juggle 3 meetings at a time, it hit a couple of agendas, but not the CPC agendas. They're going to try, they're looking to try to meet on Monday. And again, and if they don't approve it for whatever reason, the library roof is a critical project.
Yeah.
And it needs to get done. Again, it's not the slate. This is the underlying membrane that seals the roof. The slate makes it look pretty and keeps the things structurally sound, but the membrane underneath has reached the end of its useful life and it needs to be replaced. So it's been vetted. Capital budget has given it a green light as a project. When the capital plan came tight, we at the last minute scrambled to try to find some alternative funding sources that we had not originally considered necessary. So that's why we're doing a little scramble here.
Okay. Protect the library at all costs, is my opinion. They're so critical to our community. Corey and then Jean.
I agree. It's necessary. The only clarification for you, Chris, is you're still thinking about using the county money, the county ARPA money for this, correct? And it's $250,000. Okay.
210.
Up to $210,000. I'm ready for a motion whenever Jean's done.
Jean.
I'm concerned that these discussions are sort of done in a vacuum without relation to other capital planning and infrastructure, including repairs. 40 Parker Ave came before CPC as well. It had a similar issue, has a similar amount of money and repairs need to be done. It's a complicated issue, but this is a project that we probably need to put on a list of projects we need to grapple with, along with the library as well. And I guess the question is, why the ARPA funds for this and not that? And particularly where CPC funds are clearly, I think, eligible to be used for the library, but not for Parker Ave. And so when we look at the waterfall of what funds can be used for, I think that you would probably flip it, right? Because you would say, hey, let's use the ARPA funds for 40 Parker Ave instead of the library, and have CPC being used for the library. But because we don't have that plan in place, we can't really do that waterfall approach. And it's not clear that CPC, frankly, will fund either, or recommend to fund either. And so I might want to suggest, particularly because I don't think there's a deadline for us to make a decision on the county ARPA funds. Let's see what CPC does first with the library roof. Because if you say we're going to use ARPA funds for the library roof, then there's no reason for CPC to meet on this issue.
They're already meeting.
Yes. So again, just to put in context a little bit, the library has been a project has been identified for some time. It's been on a list for a couple of years. It's not new. The 40 Parker Ave is new. The town invested funds in the 3 town-owned but privately run facilities. That's 40 Parker Ave, the American Legion facility, and the Lightkeepers, to do an assessment, knowing that none of those organizations actually had the funds to do that. And we did that during the pandemic. And it came back with a list of recommendations for each of the buildings. The challenge with 40 Parker Ave, and again, I don't want to, forgive me for trying to get a little in the weeds on this, is that its historical significance is not as clear as the library. The library is a historic school. It's been there for 100 years. Unfortunately, the 40 Parker Ave building has been modified multiple times in history, most recently to be a furniture showroom. And so it's historic. Well, there's historical things that happened there. the building itself does not retain as much historical integrity. The school was actually stripped back down to there were like wings and stuff that had been added over time. They all came off. And again, I wasn't here for that. But the historical commission is going to take up 40 Parker Ave in a forthcoming meeting to talk about what, whether it can or should be on a list of locally nominated properties. There's no question that the CSCR building, that 40 Parker Ave needs work. And unfortunately, the organization, as great a job as it's done, educationally, it's not done as well a job maintaining the physical structure. And unfortunately, the lease has given them full responsibility and having support. It's going to take a little time to pivot. I've talked to folks here. That building is not. We don't think it's in imminent danger. The problem with the library is it's used all the time, and leaks in that roof will damage the structure in ways that will potentially cause even more money. And again, it's something that's been on the list for a couple of years. It needs to get done. The reason that we're in a scramble at this point, again, I'm sorry we are, is that the capital plan got tight, and there's a number of smaller but really significantly important projects that need to be funded. Some things at the schools, some things at Public Works. So it became how can we find some additional funds late in the game here to try to stretch the pot? It's CPC will not fund this. And by the way, you don't have to fund this with ARPA money tonight either. It's absolutely true. You don't have to. It would just, CPC asked, in one of the conversations at one of the meetings I was at, it was asked, well, is the town going to contribute anything to this project? So right now, that the bucket of money that's immediately available is the money that the county holds for the town, the $1.6 million from ARPA money that's up in Norfolk County. So again, the library roof been on the list for a couple of years. It has to get done. It's a critical project. It does have a little bit of funding flexibility simply because it is a historic property. It's now on the historical list. CPC can consider it. Whether it does or doesn't is going to be entirely up to the committee. And if there's any other questions, I'll do the best I can.
Diane and then Jean.
My only question is that facility assessment study, Chris, that was done for 40 Parker Ave, the Lightkeepers and the Legion. Is there like a priority list, and is that something we should be kind of reviewing shortly?
So we shared it with all,
because they are kind of off our radar.
Right, all the organizations got them, right? And we've been working with all of them to try to figure out next steps. Now the good news, the Legion was actually in pretty good shape. I mean, because they've been able to put work into it. And the Lightkeepers had a funding source, right, for maintenance. So the Lightkeepers building is actually in pretty good shape too, because they had a funding source, which was the rent. Unfortunately, CSCR, again, I don't want this to be an unpacking of how organizations have run or haven't. They need more support than the other two buildings, without question. And we're trying to figure out ways to get them that. Now, one is CPC money, right? I mean, because it's historic. The problem is it's not recreational. The boathouse is a recreational facility. Receive historic and recreational money. It has gotten recreational money. I think there's some honest conversation the historical commission has to do about what's significant and what CPC money can be spent on. Like, for example, in town hall, right? CPC money can be spent on the historical 1850 building with the renovations, but the 1980s structure that I'm talking to you from now is not eligible for CPC money because it's not historic. There are parts of 40 Parker Ave that are probably historic, and there are parts that are probably not. Again, I'm not going to tell you what is or isn't. That's what the evaluation has to be. At the same time, we need to have a multi-phase support mechanism set up for CSCR, including maybe Seaport Economic Council grants. We've been working a little bit with other organizations that might be able to partner with them. There's some folks in the community, I think, that would probably reach out and help if they were asked. And I'm looking forward to being able to meet with some of their folks as we finish the flurry of town meeting to help point them in some directions and get them some additional support. And again, if there's any kind of emergency need that has to be done in that building, we'll find some funds to do it. I mean, we don't want anything to fall down. We don't want anything to collapse. There's clearly repairs that need to be done in that building. And I think on a bigger, broader section would be to complete their mission. Is that building even the right building for them anymore? I mean, there'd be a better facility, that could be done for them. And again, I think those are bigger conversations. The library is not going anywhere. It's there. The roof has got to be fixed. So it's teed up as number one, and not in any way taking anything from Parker Ave. It's just there's a lot more questions about the building that still need to be answered to do it the right way.
Thanks for clarifying that, Chris. Does that answer your question, Diane? All right, Jean?
My only point to my fellow select board members is that the ARPA funds provide us with unique opportunities because they are fungible in a way that many other things are not, to Chris's point. We can't fund the new town hall through CPC funds, and there's probably limited sources of funding for a new town hall. Or, if we were to move something near Jerusalem Road in order to get better cell service, there's certain things that we can do with ARPA money that we literally can't do with any other type of money, except for maybe a debt exclusion or operating budget, both of which present a lot of challenges for us. And so I'm just pressing on this because yes, absolutely, we got to fix the library roof, but before we run too quick to the ARPA money, I just want to make sure we've exhausted other sources first. And that's my only point.
Okay, Jack?
Yeah, I'm absolutely convinced that we need to move with the library with all due speed. I've run a lot of buildings over the years, and it needs to be done. It will get more expensive. But I do see that this and 40 Parker Avenue, and I know what they're doing over there is great work. It points to the problem that we need to have an assessment and understanding of the depreciating assets, the physical plants that are wearing out. And it's very predictable. And we should be able to have a pretty good idea down the line when we're going to need money. And it just seems like we're always having these last minute fire drills. And I think we need to figure out a structural way in which we can keep track of these and put money aside way before we need the money. So when these things, which are predictable, they're not an emergency, they're not calling it an emergency isn't an emergency. It was something that wasn't planned for. And you can predict that it's going to happen. Roofs have a predicted lifespan, all things. So I just think this shows that we need to figure out a way so these situations don't keep recurring.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea in the future to have a broader talk about our town infrastructure and trying to figure out what other things could go wrong in the near future. But again, that's a different conversation for another night. Chris?
Right.
If I could just clarify, so the library roof has been on the plan. It's been identified for some time. So it's not an emergency or a fire drill. What the town did proactively was to help out CSCR and the other organizations that didn't have the support and whose leases say the town has responsibility. So despite the leases saying the town had responsibility, I met with the public works folks and said, we really need to help these folks out. And we found some money in the budget before the pandemic. And we did some assessments to help them identify the needs that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. So the town has been proactive here to help these organizations come up with lists of their projects, which they didn't realize. And now the job is to help them do that. So this is actually a positive planned step to get this information together to help organizations like CSCR help themselves in ways that they're not structurally designed to do. They're not an organization that maintains a building. They do an amazing program. And unlike the Lightkeepers, they have folks who are designed and dedicated to maintain that building. CSCR has amazing people do a lot of programming. And I think that we're going to help them find ways to maintain that structure because the structure helps their program exist. So just to be clear, this has been a proactive effort to get more information.
So they own the building? I thought the town.
No, the town owns the building, Jack, but
that's the point. When the town
the lease requires them to maintain the building 100%. The town has no responsibility for that building. Now, so again, I'm just telling you what has been done historically. Now, the town proactively went out and helped them. We did an assessment of the building to help them figure out what the problems were. So that's what we're working with. If I wasn't clear before, I apologize. That's what this is for. So that's why we're having the conversation about 40 Park Ave today. And appropriately, they said, hey, the building has some historical significance. Can we find CPC money to help us with the building? That was an appropriate ask. And there's just more work to be done. Again, unfortunately, we're trying to dot I's and cross T's that have not been done for decades. And we're trying to do it in a very positive way to make sure the path's going forward. The Historical Commission's been great. They've been very cooperative. And I think we're on a path. Again, so sorry, I didn't mean to take it too.
No, Corey, I know you have your hand up. Brian, you might have had your hand up in the waiting room too. Put it up again if you want to come in and comment. Corey?
Yeah, we're not talking about Parker Avenue tonight, not on the agenda. I know it's related, but we've talked too much about it. But simple facts, library is important. Library needs roof. We have a funding mechanism, and this is going to be something which CPC can contribute to. So let's just do that. It seems pretty clear. So I would make a motion to fund up to $210,000 out of the county ARPA funds for the purposes of library roof replacement at Paul Pratt, less any funding from CPC.
Thank you, Corey. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Brian, I tried to, let's see, hold on. I was going to say any further discussion, but I wanted to give Brian a chance to clarify anything about this if you want to real quick.
Very
You
briefly,
have a question.
many years ago, we put in place a 10-year capital plan, and the three buildings that were identified earlier in this conversation, being the Parker Ave, the Lightkeeper's House, and the Legion, are not on that plan. And the reason they're not on that plan is because they do, pursuant to their agreement with the town, own responsibility for future maintenance. Now, it sounds like, one of those buildings is doing just fine. One of those buildings is doing relatively well and may need some help. And there's a third one that's going to need perhaps almost complete help. That is, that's information that I think I learned maybe 10 days ago for the first time. So, so Parker Ave, I think it is fair to say that it's extraordinarily late breaking news. I mean, our capital requests were due in last fall. And if a department dropped a capital request on us right now, I mean, we would just send it back to them. We wouldn't even have a conversation about it. So the library roof, was on that plan, the 10-year capital plan. It's been there for many years. The request was submitted on time. And as I reported to the board 2 weeks ago, it's an extremely high priority request, but we do have the ability to see that funded through other sources other than the stabilization fund, which is, what we hope ultimately takes place.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. That we appreciate those comments. Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and second on the table. If not, we can vote. All right. Roll call vote, starting with Jack.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Haley Dipple die.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Carrie Thompson, aye. All right. Wonderful. Our library roof can get fixed. Moving on to our big portion of the meeting, which is getting our warrant ready for town meeting. So we need to vote on remaining articles and then also vote to close and sign the warrant. Exciting. We're almost there. Go ahead, Chris.
We're actually in the home stretch. So I'm going to share screen so you can see where we are.
Perfect.
I did send you about an hour ago an updated version, or a little more, about an hour and a half ago. The advisory committee met. Capital met yesterday to wrap up, and advisory met tonight at 6. So I was with them with Don, and they wrapped up all their votes. Let's walk through this. So let me show you. And again, you should have it, but I'll share here so everyone can see it at home. So based on a prior conversation, a new Article 1 was created. Historically, the town has done these things anyway. They've just been sprinkled to the warrant. Carolyn Murray gave us an example from Wayland, which has been a little bit tweaked to kind of consolidate at the front of the warrant rather than have just a moment of silence at the beginning and these proclamations that historically have been scattered through the warrant. Just do recognition right up front. So this recognizes citizens who served in a volunteer capacity. By the way, the language is, this is not the actual correct language. So well, let's come back to this in a minute.
That's all right.
But so we've been going back and forth with Caroline on this a couple of times. So I think we have so I'm going to have Tracy update this. So the bottom line is that the plan for this is to do this at the front of the meeting. And we'll get back to the specs of this in a second.
Okay.
The Allentown report and the reports of committees are what they are. And there's no action to take on either one of those except at the night of town meeting. The operating budget, you all heard the school committee presentation last week. You've received materials during the course of the conversations that have taken place over the last few months. You have Appendix A. I have Don here if you have any other questions about the budget. So does anyone have any questions about the budget?
Any questions for Chris?
Don?
Jean?
I actually had a question about the men's line for 134,000. And what that constituted. So for example, when you break it down, there's 30,000 for training, I think. I just want to check on that because this year, for example, I don't think the board, although I may be wrong, has received 30,000 in training. And, you know, as I'm reminded of the advisory committee where we painstakingly went through the school budget, and we were looking for money. I want to make sure the select board's budget itself is in line with what we actually need, particularly if we're talking about whether we can afford another teacher.
Okay.
Apologize, Gene. Could you repeat what line you were asking about?
Yes, let me see if I can find the right one. It is. Oh, yes, it's Department 122. It's the 8th document in the packet we received on page 2 of 59. It says education and training, $30,000.
Okay.
So, you know, again, I'm just trying to figure out what we're actually using that for. It seems like a lot. And I figure because we're the select board, we should know.
Yeah, so that's a fair point, Gene. So that's actually used for specified training of staff on the town side, period. There's just money in the central HR budget for training and development. And then there's supplemental money that's always been available for projects and additional training. Some of that can be used for the attorneys to do specialized training for programs. Sometimes it's for specialized training for staff members who are looking for certification or something like that. And it's the way it's always been housed there. So it could as easily be slipped over into the town manager side of it. There's a number of things that are historically in the select board side of the budget, which aren't pure select board, like costs for ads and things like that. That are mostly spent on licensing permitting, but not always. So that's again, I have to pull up the annual spend, but I'm fairly certain that we haven't used it as much the last couple of years. I don't think that number's changed in a number of years. I think that's the same number that we've had in there for, I don't know, Don, could you go back and take a look at it? I don't have it in front of me.
It's 2018, and I mean we spend at least half of it every year, if not more. Just kind of depends on the year, really. But again, dips and spikes will happen because of what training programs may be offered or who is requesting a training program.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been able to benefit from this, providing our employees with great training to better serve the town of Cohasset. So I think that's one of those line items that is really needed in that department.
And we have talked about that we care about training and the importance of training, and that has been an ongoing discussion the past few years. So I know that area is important to all of us. Jean, did you have a follow-up on that, or Diane had her hand up next?
Yeah, no, it just jumped out at me because I just wanted to make sure we weren't paying like 30,000 for MMA or something like that, because that.
No.
Okay.
So I just need a little more clarity there. Thanks.
All right, Diane.
No, and I don't want to belabor the point, but this is the line item. I think it was created about 10 years ago, but literally for committee members to go to the MMA conference if they wanted to, or to bring town council in to do committee training. And that is something that I want to make sure we have a conversation about as soon as we wrap up the annual town meeting, because that to me is a priority, and the money's there and we need to do it. We need to do it right. So.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on this? All right, Chris.
All right, I'm going to go back to Article 1, and I'll share this hard copy with you, and a formal copy in a second. So this is the language for the Article 1, which is modified off Wayland's. To determine whether the town will recognize the achievements and contributions to town government of citizens and employees. 1, to recognize citizens who have served in a volunteer capacity for exceptional service to the town. 2, to recognize employees for exceptional service to the town who have retired since the previous annual town meeting or intend to retire prior to June 30th of 2022, which is, they should say 2022, one more change, which is the end of this fiscal year. And then to request town meeting observe a moment of silence in memory of elected or appointed volunteers, retirees, or an employee while in service to the town without regard to tenure, who shall have passed away since the adjournment of the 2021 annual town meeting. Again, the town has historically done those, just not in one lump, and it's actually it seems like a really nice way to begin the meeting, just to do it formally and have that happen. So, any questions about this particular article or its?
No, I like that. I think it gets us started on a nice tone for the whole meeting.
So there's the budget. So do you want to vote on these individually? You just want to do it at the end, do the whole thing? Yeah. Well, you actually, you know what?
You have to vote it.
Individual.
Okay, so on your, if you're ready to vote on the operating budget, it's article. The select advisory committee has voted to support it by a vote of 6-0. And the only reason it's 6-0 and not 9-0 is because 3 members just weren't at the meeting that night. There was nobody
Okay.
staying or voted.
I move
All
that
right.
we recommend Article 4, the operating budget.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Carrie Thompson, aye. All right, let's check that one off.
Okay, here's the next one. All right, unpaid bills of prior years. There's a couple of random ones here, and Don could explain them in more depth. They're all legit. One was an old sewer bill. I don't know what happened there. It went to the sewer department, didn't get paid, but it was work that was done for them. I believe it was work that was being done on the 390 CJC highway before this last fiscal year. And a couple of these others just are uniforms, and one of them is, we do mattress disposal at the RTF, and I think during the whole pandemic, things just got something slipped a little. Again, none of these are, except for that one, all of these really, the services took place. So an advisory voted 6-0 with one abstention to recommend this. Any questions,
Okay.
Don?
Questions on this?
I move that we recommend unpaid bill from previous years.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Jack,
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Carrie Thompson, aye. All right,
Appropriations, this is just one, this is the annual, or I should say the biannual transfer of funds. The town gets the money from Comcast and Verizon, and we pass it through to 143 TV. As of the third quarter, it was $60,796.72 additional, because the first 2 quarters were transferred at special town meeting. Don is hoping to get the final number for the 4th quarter before we end up at annual town meeting. And so that's where we stand. So that amount will be updated to whatever the current number is by the time we get to town meeting.
okay.
An advisory recommended by a vote of 7-0.
Diane,
I remember in the past that there's been like a lapse in this. Are we kind of caught up now to a certain rhythm so that
We are.
Yeah, because we missed that special town meeting that one year, so they have to
Yep.
wait a year, right? So now we're on every 6-month thing, so I think it's working out okay.
We're doing better.
great, thank you.
good. All right, any other questions? All right, do we have a motion?
I can't read the top, but I move that we approve the we recommend to town meeting the supplemental appropriations for fiscal 2022.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Jack Creighton, aye.
Go for it, Jack.
Corey Evans abstain since I serve on the 143 TV board.
Jean Haley Dipple
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Carrie Thompson, aye. We love our 143 TV.
The stabilization of the special funds is 4 transfers this year. One is the big one that goes into capital. The OPEB trust fund, that's the supplemental, that's the primary contributions to last year. I hope we have to take it from cash. The plan is to continue to have it permanently back in the budget, at least this part of the payment for FY24. And the other two are transfers from both, one from sewer and one from water, of revenue into their respective capital stabilization funds for future projects. And as advisory recommended by a vote of 7.
Any questions on this? If not, we can do a motion.
I'd move
Move
to
that we recommend Article 7 or whatever, stabilization and other special funds at town meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, roll call
Jack-
vote. Jack,
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jeannie Haley Dipple died.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Harry Thompson, I. All right, we're moving right along, making
Article 8
progress.
is capital budget. I'll stop for just a second. Brian is here. If you want to meet, do you want to hear from Brian more as I put this on the screen, or Brian host the?
If he wants to add anything, he can come in, but I don't think it's required.
Okay, I'll move him up just in case, and I will.
All right,
So let me share the screen again. So they completed their work. I think again, you heard the presentation last week. Some of the updates since then are there were 4 enterprise fund projects, 2 water, 2 sewer. Again, you know what? Don knows this better than I am. I'm going to defer to him for just a second.
sure, go for it, Don.
There you are.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I was looking at my notes. You want to just run through these articles?
Please.
Yeah, so the 700,000 is an FY23 project. As it mentions, Beechwood to Town Line. That will be funded with a combination of water revenues and their retained earnings. The next item is actually FY24 replacements. We, with the capital, to request this funding or authorization ahead of time so that we can go ahead and apply to the state for SRF funding again, like we do with the GAC program, to hopefully again be brought into this program to recognize either 0% or a combination of 0% and principal forgiveness, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's why that is being put forward now. And then the sewer capital items are just 2 small items here. Repairs to 2 of the pump stations, Tupelo and the Deer Hill. You will probably see a similar number for each of the next 3 or 4 years, as the sewer department will be upgrading their 8 pump stations. And then the last item was a grit screw, a piece of equipment. I don't know exactly what it is and what it does, but it's required for the wastewater treatment plant. And both of those are coming out of the retained earnings, which has a balance of somewhere around 700,000. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but adequate funding to fund all of those items.
Thank you, Don. Jean, I saw your hand first. Oh, you put it down.
Sorry, quick question on the $2.6 million water main replacement.
Mhm.
If we don't get the state funding for that, is that going to require us to do a rate increase in order to
Nope.
fund that?
This is already built into our plan and our model now. So the
Okay.
debt service is already layered into our fiscal 24. So this is just, we're trying to be proactive to be able to apply and recognize savings on borrowing and interest costs.
Good clarification there. All right, are we ready for a motion?
I move that we recommend the capital improvements budget.
Do we have a second?
Just a clarification,
There's-
because we've
there's
only
20
done
there's
the
23
enterprise funds.
Yeah, there's
There's still
23 more
more.
projects to come if you want to look at those.
Oh, sorry, we stopped. My apologies.
No, I know. I just.
We didn't scroll any farther. I thought there were more, but you know, maybe
You
they
hadn't
came
seen
later.
these yet, so. yeah.
All right.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
He wants to watch This Is Us. It's on in 15 minutes.
Want to hear more about these police cars?
So I believe that you've heard really, I think, most of these at the last, the ones that were still being discussed were kind of some of these at the end. You know, for example, one is the Caterpillar loader. There's been a whole investigation of that. And Capital's recommending a vote for this. And again, Brian's here to talk more about that. there's actually a discount in here for oh my God, it's been a long day. The buyback for the old vehicle. So we'll get hopefully a $50,000 credit against the new one. And then there's several smaller projects that we just discussed at the schools. They're all very important. These are in here, including the lockers and the PA. And then there's 2 projects that are critical for IT. And we'll get to how some of them are being funded in a second. So some of them are being funded through capital, and some prepaid costs, which is going to save the town substantial funds by prepaying for 3 years of service. We'll save some significant money. We can't prepay in an operating budget, I'm afraid. So there's a one-time cost article which is coming up, which funds the difference that capital things should be in the capital budget per se, but that's coming up. So nobody debated the prepayment, which is how to fund it. Questions for Brian or Don or me?
I don't know whose hand was up first. Let's do Jean, then Diane.
I just had a quick question about the annual road paving. It says state equals 120 plus our 300,000. Are you talking about 120 in chapter 90 funds? Is that what that references to?
Yeah, we're actually read that. Yeah, I think they the number this year, but I think our number is a little bit higher this year.
And what was the reason for the dissenting vote on capital budget?
On which item, Gene?
The annual road paving?
Sorry, the road paving? Yeah, so that dissenting vote is that because of the pandemic, our road paving execution is several years behind our funding at this point. So I think we're 2 full years behind prior to this year's appropriation. And that person felt that it was not realistic that we could just catch up in the immediately foreseeable future, and that we had other projects that, in fact, could be executed and required funding. And that person felt that, we should not hold back other departments who have valid projects that can be executed on right now while we continue to stockpile money for some future road paving execution.
But, and I'm sorry, just aren't we going to actually pave the roads with this money?
Yes, so I'm just explaining the dissenting vote.
Oh, okay, okay.
The others.
I would hope so. I would hope that we're doing that.
So just to be clear, there's money there to pave roads. The dissenting vote was we don't need any more money right at this moment to repave roads. I think the other members of the committee felt very strongly on 2 items. Number one, there's a lot of work to catch up, but we also may see some price escalation. This is fundamentally an oil-based product, right? So we have no idea whether our historical costs are going to hold. It may be more expensive going forward. And so, having some cushion there is important. The second issue is that we feel very, very strongly that, we should have this $300,000 number in the budget every year, because people just need to get their head around the idea that that's like a forever thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. Agree. Thanks, Brian.
Diane?
Yeah, I put my hands down. That was my
Okay.
exact question.
Just real quick, Chris and Don, can you just double check number 11? I think it's supposed to be fire instead of police. Possibly.
You're correct. In fact, both 10 and 11 are should be CFD. So I'll fix that.
Otherwise, I'm good.
We're just testing, Carrie, to see how close you're reading.
All right. Any other questions?
So you've already seen the capital votes. Advisory recommended vote for the entire package by a vote of 7-0, and that was just earlier this evening.
All right. Are we ready for a motion?
I move that we recommend the capital improvements budget to town meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Ray Evans, aye.
Jeannie Haley Dippledy.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Carrie Thompson, aye.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for your.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. We're glad to have you here tonight, paying attention.
Happily.
Article 9. This is a creation of a new revolving fund. We had mentioned before, there's a number of projects, in particular, the 19 commercial condo units going up on the hill by the self-storage unit, and then the Cohasset Harbor Inn projects that are likely to do some work within the bylaw requirements on weekends or after hours. This would just set those up formally to come in as a revolving fund. So the owners have to pay for the services, and these are for services other than Inspector Howell. These are people that we pay per diem for because we bring them in for electrical, plumbing, or whatever else is needed. And there might be some more specialized ones because of the commercial construction aspects of a couple of these buildings. This just sets up a new revolving fund to do that.
All right.
And advisory voted to recommend by a vote of 7 to 9.
Any questions on this? Then we're ready
We
for a motion.
recommend creation of a revolving fund for after-hours building inspections.
Do we have a second?
Second,
All right. No discussion.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dibble.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, I.
Really quickly, did everybody read the Globe article about the highest paid City of Boston employee? Was the
No, but
wire
I
ins-
will
Was the
go.
wire inspector for this very
Really?
reason.
All right, let's all go read it as homework.
On the new job.
So the next one is the annual spending limits for the revolving funds that exist. These have not changed. They just need to be renewed annually. Any questions? And advisor recommended approval by a vote of 7 to 9.
All right.
I move that we
Question.
recommend departmental revolving funds, no spending limits.
Second,
All right, motion second. Any discussion? Go for it, Jack.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, Christine, your keyboard's loud, aye.
He's making edits as we go. It's fine. All right.
Haley Dibble,
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, I.
I will mute every time I type from now.
All right.
I'm just trying to stay current with it as we do this. So
It's like watching democracy in action and listening
Exactly.
to it in action.
these are the two one-time costs. One is the assessors have to do revals from time to time. Commercial and industrial properties are coming up in the next fiscal year. They're a unique Mary and Rachel do amazing work. They know every residential property there is in town. Commercial industrial require a little more specialty work. The estimate is it'll cost about $12,000 to have support to come in and do that. We don't have a lot of commercial industrial. That said, it's really important that it be done accurately. And we might have a little bit more once these commercial condos are built. The other is what I mentioned before. This is the difference between what Ron was looking for to fund 3 years of some of these services because of prepay. And again, Don can correct me. I want to say that we're saving $100,000 by prepaying. So these are a couple of years of prepay for service. You have to pay for annual service updates for some IT equipment and the services for the firewalls. It saves some substantial funding by prepaying. And the advisory recommended approval by a vote of 7 to 1.
Chris, is actually savings of about 135,000.
Oh, wow.
So I underestimated.
Good. We'll take more savings. Questions? All right, are we ready for a motion?
I move that we recommend allocation of funds for one-time costs.
Do we have a second?
Second,
All right,
Jack
discussion.
Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dibble.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, I. All right, we're moving right through. We're making progress.
So the next one is an annual article. We've all learned more about Chapter 91 than we ever thought. So anytime there's work in the Chapter 91 waterway, which is that boundary of historical land, and we are doing some of that this next year with the Fairview boat ramp. We need to indemnify the state if they give us money. And this annual article does that. And in this case, there is a project for coming in the next fiscal year. And this would also cover any kind of work that might be done in the campus work. I don't know any of it will be done in the next fiscal year. It's that kind of work that's in that median area. And advisory recommended approval by a vote of 7-0.
Great. Questions on this one? All
I
right,
move
a
that
lot
we
of motions
recommend-
tonight. You're doing good.
Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 91 liability article at town meeting.
Second,
Second, all right,
Lots of seconds.
discussion. Roll call vote.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, I.
Article 13 is another annual article. This is renews real estate exemptions for veterans and the elderly who meet certain qualifications. This was expanded a couple of years ago because the state allowed the expansion. The assessors recommended the expansion. They're not heavily used, but the few folks who have them, I didn't check with the assessors. I think there was less than 10, but it really made a significant difference to those who actually qualify for these to help maintain their properties. I think it's qualified elderly veterans and legally blind taxpayers. So every little bit counts. The advisory recommended approval by a vote of 6-0 with 1 abstention.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is really important. I know we do have residents that really appreciate this.
I move that we recommend additional real estate exemptions annual renewal at town meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, I.
Okay, the next article is CPC. I think you've heard all these projects. The first 4 are just routine. They're required. The CPC is required to designate 10% of its revenue into these 3 buckets. And the estimated income for next year is $751,000. So that's 75,000, or actually estimate that's the number that Don, I think, has now. 700 is open space recreation, historical, and affordable. Up to 5% go into administrative sub-account that pays for legal work that comes up from time to time if there's easements or something, and also pays for minutes and things like that. I think you've heard Russ talk about all the projects. There were 2 that were added last night. Their extension of funds for 2 projects. One is Milliken Field, which has been going on. I think we finally have a path. Michelle's done trying to get us into a new place on that. And I think after walking the field with some of the baseball folks, I think we have an answer that's finally going to get that resolved. But that'll extend that funding for 1 more cycle. And it'll also extend a little bit of money that was left over from the CYBSA's request for dugout and storage upgrades. It'll give them 1 more year to spend that other $3,500. So these are the projects that have been approved to this point.
Diane, I see your hand.
Yeah, just a question on that Milliken Field project. Is that the field house project, or is it something else?
It's the bathrooms. It's the bathrooms.
That's, yeah.
Part of it. So the project, it's too small. It's too small for us to do. It's too big for us to do it ourselves, and it's too small to bid successfully. And it's been really painful.
Right.
That said, Michelle's been able to find an alternative that we'll be able to get something, I think, prefab that'll be able to plop right down, just bathrooms. We're gonna, I think, remediate, fix up some of the storage. It's gonna be in a slightly different location, which will make it easier, a little bit out of the way, a little bit more out of the way. And we can be able to get it in with the funding that we have available. So
Was that the original appropriation?
yes, I remember there's also money coming from the soccer club, from the lacrosse folks, and from recreation. It's the recreation department itself. So there's other money. This is just the CPCP. Some of it was, there was some work done several years back on the fields, and we just did some additional work on the fields this last year to prep for baseball season. So the fields are actually, the baseball field in particular is, I think, in pretty decent shape. This is really all about those permanent bathrooms, because there isn't anything up there. And to have to go back to school is not easy if you're older or handicapped, or if you have little kids. So I'm sincerely hoping that we'll be able to finally have them done this season. When I say this season, I mean this cycle. It should be done
This year.
But
Don't say season.
No, I'm sorry. Hopefully this year, this calendar year, I hope that's
All right, any other questions on any of these items? All right, we can do a motion.
Move that we recommend the Community Preservation Committee recommendations.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Any further discussion? All right,
Jack,
just
No,
a
I-
oh,
footnote,
hold on, Jean.
just a footnote on the library roof, just so everyone else knows, I think CPC is going to readdress the library roof, which may be added to this, but I guess we'll vote on it either at town meeting or at a later date if this is the warrant to be printed.
Corey.
I think, can we do a motion to recommend in the form presented at town meeting? Are we allowed to do it that way? That's what advisory was doing for this one.
Is that the appropriate wording?
No, they talked about doing that, Corey, and they decided not to.
Okay.
So, you know, if it's one item and the motions have a little different funding source for some, or one additional project, that's happened before. I think that's easily enough explained, and people will get the motions hopefully in advance for enough time to know that's coming. So,
Okay, so our motion can stay as is, we think?
yeah, I think this, unfortunately, it's the only thing you have in front of you right
Yeah.
now. Again, and we'll see after Monday what the next step.
All right.
is.
All right, so let's keep it as is. All right, roll call vote.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dippledy.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Harry Thompson, I.
The next one is, this is the same risk for the town hall project. There's more conversations that have to take place on this. That said, this would authorize up to $200,000. What's happened at this point is the CMS, the select board had given a green light to is being explored through the inspector, to get a sign up by Inspector General's office. So request has been made to authorize this project to be eligible for a construction manager at risk designation, so you can actually retain one. And there'll have to be a whole process that'll go through. That said, this will be the project itself will be part of a bigger conversation that'll take place after town meeting, as you all talk about infrastructure. This authorization will allow the project to continue moving forward based on what happens, as opposed to having to wait if a decision is made to move forward based on where you are. So the advisory committee is recommended by 11-7 to nothing. And again, I can't do a better explanation of the same at risk than had been already given by the folks on the committee, including Mark Cameron. So.
Yep. Questions or thoughts on this one? I know we've all heard several explanations on this issue, and we're all pretty well versed in it. Jack?
Yeah, I followed the town hall committee off and on. You know, it's hard to spend money to plan to build a building. And if you haven't been in the process, it's hard to understand how expensive putting together plans and things like that are before you even really know exactly what it's going to be about. So this may be a little confusing, but it's a project that has been repeatedly approved by the town. The committee is working very hard. My only criticism would not be directed at the committee. Is that the same process needs to go on other major capital processes. But where we are where we are, and I think we need to move forward with this with all due speed.
Thank you, Jack. I agree. Any further discussion? Yeah, make the motion, Corey. Go for it.
Yeah, I move that we recommend town hall building request for $200,000 to hire a CM at risk for town hall project.
Do we have a second? All right, motion second. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, I. Jackson Eager Beaver at the beginning of
No,
the.
I
like
just thought that was further discussion.
No,
I-
we got a good,
sir.
we have a good rhythm going. I appreciate it. It's a good rhythm.
Yeah.
Corey. Is that a hand?
Yeah, I was gonna bring up something about the next article for the
Okay.
board to consider. So, this is the next article is the Alternative Energy Committee, the grant support.
No,
for
you're not, we're not there yet. You've already,
Oh, the order in the packet is different. My
Yeah,
apologies. I
No, it's
withdraw
okay.
my hand.
you've already
And I
voted
do
16.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
I just want to show you, you've already voted 16, so we're going to roll right by it. And Corey is correct. The next one is Article 17 that has not been voted yet. So,
And I do see Tanya is in the room if we need Tanya.
Okay, so I was listening to capital budget and advisory, and what's clear is right now with this project, it's amazing and it's exciting. And there's a lot of great opportunities here, but there's an unknown risk factor, which still exposes the town to the potential of spending money and not getting something for it. And I think that's with a little bit more time to talk to our state representatives and to negotiate with National Grid and allow AEC to do their job, it may be better for us to move this to special town meeting or fall town meeting to give them a little more time to work on it. Just based on the conversations that I've listened to in alternative energy and as I said, advisory and capital. So we may benefit from waiting a little bit on this one.
I would love to hear from Tanya on this. Hi, Tanya.
Hello.
Welcome.
I think Corey did a good summary. Look, the process is to get questions, and some of the questions we couldn't answer. We don't have the information to answer. And a key one is who's with us and who's against us externally, right? Does the state want this? Does National Grid really want it? Does FEMA want it? And if any one of them say no, it just puts risk on us that we don't need to have. So giving us more time withdrawing this allows us to sort of push it forward and get more of that information and be able to assess what's the risk. As Jack said, you pay money to plan, but what we don't want to do is ask for the town to spend money for a plan that's not going anywhere.
Right.
And so that time gives us that, hopefully will allow us to better assess the risk of where that plan could go and make sure that it could move forward before we commit to the town. So I think that is the most prudent approach to take. And we're very comfortable moving forward with learning more information that can answer some of the good questions that were raised.
So I would,
Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
no, I would just move that we remove Alternative Energy Committee grant support for microgrid from the town warrant and refer it back to AEC for further development.
All right,
Second.
second. Okay. And Tanya, that's okay with you?
Yes.
All right. Just confirming that we're good. All right, roll call vote. Jack.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dippledy.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, aye. Keep working on it, Tanya. It's very exciting stuff. Hopefully it'll be back on the next warrant.
Right. Or maybe we just get the funding and we don't have to worry about it all the way.
That
Find
too.
that truck full of
Yeah,
money.
we'll take that off.
That's always our goal, as you know, always our goal.
Somebody else's money. Yep.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
okay. So in the quick edit, the new Article 17 is now Water Department filter and SRF authorization. And let me put this up on the screen. Let me put the information summary. And which I think is the key here. The article authorized the town to participate in the bonding program, water revolving fund. The projects contained within this authorization, filter system for the Ellis Meadow well field and a chlorine treatment process upgrade for the main water plant were approved at annual town meeting in May of 2021. By participating in the state program, Cohasset will receive lower interest costs, potentially as low as 0%, as well as further incentives from the state depending on availability of funds. Savings have been estimated at the Finance Department of at least $750,000 over the life of the borrowing, with savings running over $1 million if the town receives a 0% interest rate and or other revolving fund incentives. All costs will be covered by water revenues. These projects are part of the Water Department's capital planning process. So advisory recommended approval by a vote of 7-0. I believe the Water Commission has also voted in favor of this by a vote of 3-0. But we just have to confirm that vote because they did support these projects all at the beginning. And did I capture that, Don? Is that fair? Fair description?
Yep.
Okay. Jean.
Just one quick question, and I may be misremembering at this point, but does this also cover the cost of the ongoing chlorine filter? I think that was 300,000 or some significant cost that we were trying to.
Yes, it's about when they were approved separately, Jean, last year.
Okay.
Both applied for an SRF and they were both accepted. So because of the 0% interest, it actually makes sense to borrow for it. And they were both approved together. The state requires us to authorize them both. And there's a potential even less than that if we get some incentive money from the state's funds for special projects like this. So,
Could I
Okay.
clarify that question,
Go
Gene?
ahead, Dom.
Did you ask if this was covering the ongoing future maintenance of this?
Well, remember, we paid the 3.6 for the GAC, and then on top of that, there was ongoing pretty expensive maintenance, I think replacement of the chlorine filter, if I recall correctly.
Right, so that does not go away. That's gonna be an ongoing maintenance cost, no matter what. We're putting funding. Again, we already authorized a 3.6 last town meeting. We're
Yeah.
putting this forward with the language to be able to borrow under the Clean Water Trust to obtain 0% plus potential principal forgiveness. So this is just purely the construction project. The ongoing maintenance is going to be there. We get this funding or not.
Okay, I guess what I'm really asking, and I'm just gonna ask it more bluntly, is are we gonna see a GAC filter warrant articles on future warrants, or are we accounting for the filters in the cost of the ongoing water budget? I think it's the latter, but just
the
because
water
every
budget.
time we explain it, it's a little bit confusing because people just paid 3.6 million. So I'm just trying to hope, is this sort of the last big picture warrant article we're gonna see?
Yeah, I mean, the ongoing maintenance is built out in the future years. So we've already started putting money in for FY23 in the event that
Yep.
Okay,
we
perfect.
get this constructed sooner and we might have some sort of partial maintenance, but this is within that 10-year plan in the 5-year rate study. So we're covered.
The rate
answer
study
your
being the key question.
All right, are you good, Gene? Any other questions? We're ready for a motion.
Move that we recommend the water department GAC filtration SRF authorization article at town meeting.
Do we have a second? All right, discussion, any further discussion? All right, Jack. You're
Corey
muted.
Evans, aye.
Oh, Jack was muted, but I assume he voted aye. Sorry.
Yeah, Jack, right.
I think that's an aye.
Corey
All right.
Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, aye. We got Rusty on our last one.
And,
Yes, Corey.
I want to make, I know this is water dripping on the stone, but I want to make my last pitch for moving the remote article up on the town warrant. You know, I've talked to a lot of people about this. I mean, overall, excited responses. People, again, there's been concerns. I'm not saying that's all universal, but people are really behind this. And I'd love to see this happen in the front of the meeting, not when we're all really tired. I've pitched it before, and you know, it's feeling like alone on an island here. But if we could put it mid-article, mid-10, you know, instead of having it at whatever 47 or wherever it is, that would be, I think, a nice gesture. But I've done this before, and
You're like a dog with a bone with this, Corey.
I don't want to beat up the board if we're not
I'm-
doing that.
I'm very excited about the remote voting. I don't really care, honestly, where it is on the warrant. So I'm open to whatever. Jean?
Corey, do you think, and I'm open to it too, but do you think it's a positive thing to do that? Or do you think that it will enable more people to, let's say, commute in from Boston to vote if it's a little bit later? And
Well, so if you play out the scenarios, in the unlikely event the first one doesn't pass, and we really think we need those commuters from Boston, then we also have the citizen petition at the end, right? So there is an off ramp if we need it. But I feel like the town is behind this. I think it's going to be a really good thing.
okay, then I move to propose that this be the new Article 5 and that all the rest of the articles move down one.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Happy to second.
Okay, so further discussion, Jack.
Yeah, you know, I'm a strong proponent of this. I really am. But I'm not a strong proponent of playing favorites on where articles get placed. And even though I support this, I think that we shouldn't go down the road of kind of ranking articles and putting them in one spot or another to make them easier to pass or more difficult to pass. I think it sends a very, very bad precedent.
I mean, we kind of, yeah, no,
And I'm very much in support of this, by the way. I've worked with Tom Baker from the beginning. I think it makes a lot of sense, but this is not a good move because it sets a very dangerous precedent.
I mean, the articles are kind of like our children, right? We have to love them all. All of the articles. My only hesitation here is, will it confuse voters if we separate this from the citizens petition? Would it make more sense in the heads of people attending town meeting if they're next to each other? I don't know. I'm kind of agnostic about this. Diane?
I completely agree with Jack, although, you know, I would be inclined to move it up because it is an important consideration for the town, but a town meeting's basic responsibility is to pass budgets. So I think putting it at number 5, you know, you either stack all the ones that are just kind of, you know, I don't know, I'm not going to vote yes on Article 5 for sure.
Okay. You're saying you would agree with maybe
I agree with
farther
Jack
down than 5. Okay.
primarily, right? If the number hadn't been Article 5, I might have been swayable, but I'm going to vote no on this.
Okay, Corey.
I mean, amendments are possible in this thing, but I mean, if it's at the end, you know, the favorites thing, it's not whether we like one or the other. It's, I think at the end of putting it at the end of the warrant gives a somewhat of a message that it's not important, that figuring out how to, you know, be inclusive and get people to vote and reach them where they are is not a priority for us. I think it's subtle, but I do think it sends that. So that's, you know, this is not favorites, it's giving it its due by having it in front. That's how I see it. So that's just, I already said that.
I do worry about a mass exodus after like an Article 5 and then losing so many people for the rest of the warrant. Jack and then Jean.
Yeah, and by its very nature, when you say it's important to have it at the end, but you're saying it's more important than the other. And I just think that it's a very, very poor precedent. And even though, again, I'm a big proponent of this, but I don't think we would want to, again, devalue it by, well, I've said my piece.
All right, Jean.
I mean, this is a select board warrant article that we specifically proactively put on the warrant. This wasn't a reactive article that we just up or down, right? Like the select board proactively made a decision to do this. I think we need to own it and we need to put it up front. And this, one of the very, you know, specific powers of the select board is to decide upon the warrant, which means if we're going to own something, let's own it. And I agree that the operating budget is probably another one of our most specific important powers, which is why I put this after the operating budget. But I mean, why are unpaid bills Article 5 and supplemental appropriations Article 6? It's all arbitrary if we're honest with ourselves. And so my view is let's just own what we're going to do. And if we really support it, support it. And send that message. But at the same time, I don't think it's not life or death for me. I just think that, again, you know, you just stand behind your position and you make it prominent.
Okay. Are we ready to vote? All right. Roll call vote, Jack.
Now, what are we voting on?
We're voting on, Corey made the motion if we're going to move this to be Article 5.
Jean made the
All
motion.
right, so then I would vote nay.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple.
Diane Kennedy, nay.
Carrie Thompson, nay. Sorry, Corey.
I appreciate it. Thank you
Jean.
for the consideration. It's all we can do is vote.
I still am very excited about voting on it, though. All right.
So you're not done yet. So
I know.
I am now going to send you all back out the warrant as updated. Give me just a second. And sorry for my typing. So what you're going to need to do is you need to formally Do you have that language, Tracy? in
Yeah,
front?
so Tracy sent it to me.
Oh,
It's
good,
the
okay.
motion to close and sign, correct?
Close and sign and then authorize publication and posting.
Yep,
I can
I sent it
make
to
that
Corey
motion.
too.
Yeah, I make a motion that we close and sign the warrant for annual town meeting on May 24th, 2022, and approve the posting and publication of it.
All right, we have a second. We have a second. Any other?
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
What
Christine,
was the date? I'm sorry, but did you say May 2nd, right? The date is,
Hold on, let's clarify.
I think he gave the wrong date, sorry.
yeah, I think I
Oh,
did
that-
because I've got something else in front of me. I was reading.
Yep.
My apologies. Let me amend my motion, please, which is that we motion to close and sign the warrant for annual town meeting on May 2nd, 2022 at 7 PM and approve the posting and publication of it.
Okay. Do we have a second on that? The corrected language.
Second,
All right. Jack, now you can vote
For what?
for the correct date of town meeting.
Oh, okay. Jack Creighton votes aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Jean Haley Dipple Die.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, aye. All right, that's exciting, everyone. We did it. The warrant is ready. Thank you to everyone and all the boards and committees who put so much work into that. And
there's one more task. All of you need to come by town hall to sign the actual document. There's a signature page.
Yep.
If anyone has a problem getting here, let us know. We can try to run the document by your house. We really need to have this done by Friday so we get it to the printer. So if any of you are able to come by tomorrow, that'd be awesome. Just make arrangements with Tracy. And again, if for whatever reason you can't get here, but you're in the neighborhood, we can send it over to your house to get the signatures. So we need at least 3 of you to sign it, preferably all 5. Make it
I know, I think all 5 of us should sign it. All right, so get there by Friday. All right, moving on to our town manager update.
I have one grant that I'm excited to finally announce. Town has won $188,600 Green Communities Grant.
Yay.
Money is going to be spent at the high school for an energy management system upgrade. Well, actually, it's high school, middle school, high school, both buildings, to upgrade the energy management systems. It's going to help make the buildings more efficient. Again, the combined amount is $188,600. We're very excited to be part of the Green Communities Program and to win that grant. So, and many thanks to Michelle Leary and all the hard work the facilities department has done in making these kinds of things happen. So that's the update. We're hoping that the lieutenant governor is going to come down and officially announce it, but the schedule
Okay.
quite worked. So we're officially announcing it now. That's my update.
Very exciting. All right, select board comments. I will start, just a heads up. We do have a topic not reasonably anticipated. We need to vote on our Arbor Day proclamation. So we have that coming up. And I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that took part in the road race on Sunday. Thank you to the Rotary Club. Thank you to all our volunteers. Thank you to our runners and walkers. Good job, Corey, in running it. It was such a beautiful day, and it was so nice to have the event back in person, and really just so great to see everyone's faces in person and be able to have an event that almost felt like normal. So thank you to everyone and congrats on a successful event for that. We can go Diane, then Jean, then Jack, then Corey.
You said exactly what I was going to say. I'll just add that, after 2 years
Yeah,
of, the springtime in Cohasset, starting with the road race, and now we have the Eco Fest and our the Earth Day, and then Little League opening, and it just is this succession of really wonderful community events, and it was wonderful to be part of that again after a long long couple of years. So that's all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jean.
Well, on a related athletic note, the field study is completed, and we'll be looking for a way to both publicize that and also do another follow-up presentation like we did in January. So stay tuned for more information on that. And to reiterate, I forget whose comments, it's been a long night, but thank you to all of our boards and committees for your help in the hard work of getting the warrant through, which is hard work. And to our town employees, including you, Chris and Dawn and Tracy and everyone else who participate in that. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a full team effort. Jack.
You know, the field study kind of reminds us that we're really starting to get some things done. The field study, we have a comprehensive study of the condition of our schools. And I think we need to very aggressively start doing a long-term capital budgeting. As we see with the town hall, sometimes the prices are higher and it's expensive to get good figures, but we have to balance all of these long-term capital needs. And by the way, capital budgets, Sam Wakeman is resigned and he's still around. We miss you, Sam. But you're smart to walk away from all that work that's coming. But I do think we're making some progress. And this is when the boards and committees and our structure of employing citizens to do the hard work of self-government really shines. And we should be proud of our town because it's a very special town and let's work to keep it that way. Thanks.
All right, Corey.
Yeah, no, I want to echo what Carrie and then Diane talked about the road race. It was really fun to run it because I mean, I probably saw 40, 50, 60 people that were saying hi. It was like, you know, for a race like that, you need all the help you can get. So thanks for everybody that showed up to cheer everybody on. It was just super, super cool. I've run that race a bunch and this was maybe up there with the most like attended. And that was, I don't know, I think everyone walked away with like, what a great day. Blue Ore was slammed. So was Lenny's. I mean, people were out and about and just having a really great day. So looking forward to, thanks for everyone that ran it and participated and were out there cheering for all of us. We all appreciated it. That's all I got.
All right. So we weren't sure if we were going to have Arbor Day, this proclamation ready, but it is ready. So I want to read it real quickly and hopefully we can vote on it and then also add this to the signing pile for when everyone comes in to town hall. So this is our proclamation in honor of Arbor Day. Whereas Arbor Day was first celebrated in Nebraska in 1872 with the planting of more than 1 million trees and is now celebrated throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce erosion, cut heating and cooling costs, clean the air, provide habitat for wildlife, increase property values, and beautify our community. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and renewal. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the citizens of Cohasset, we hereby proclaim April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the town of Cohasset and encourage all residents to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to plant trees to promote the well-being of this and future generations. Given under our hands and the seal of the town of Cohasset on this 5th day of April in the year 2022.
So moved.
All right, do we have a
Second.
second? All right, roll call vote, Jack.
Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Genially Dippledy.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, aye. All right,
Motion to adjourn.
do we have a second?
Second.
Corey, I like that you're just doing the number 2 with your hand up now. It's great.
You know, he's still tired from the road race. He couldn't
Exactly,
get
he ran
perfect
so
adjournment.
fast.
He was like,
Corey, you were too fast to even cheer for almost. All right, vote, Jack.
Oh, Jack Creighton, aye.
Corey Evans, aye.
Genially Dippledy.
Diane Kennedy, I.
Carrie Thompson, aye. All right, good meeting, everyone. The warrant is ready.
Very
Night,
good. Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Don't
See you next
forget to
week.
go to town hall tomorrow or Thursday to sign it.